Once you have that round over to your liking and sanded down, it's time to cut the slots for these braces to fit in. Now, there are two narrow braces and two wide braces. Two wide braces go down towards the bottom, like so. And all we do with these, I have a clear plastic square handy, is lay the brace out so it's kind of going to cover both pieces. Get it squared up using your square, and just take and put a mark. I use an X-Acto knife. You can use a pencil if you want. Just make sure to cut inside the pencil line on the graft either side. And I'll tell you where you have to cut that down. And cut it a little tight so that these things fit snugly into place. Remember, this area right here is what people will see through the sound hole. So cosmetics right around here are important. Cosmetics everywhere are important, I suppose, but most importantly here. Okay, I've got all my notches cut out now to the right size. I've also labeled the top of these braces 1, 2, 3, and 4, just so I don't get confused as to which one goes where, because they'll be slightly different widths if you're like me, and you've cut the notches to exactly match them. So you don't want to mix them up. And we glue these in. Run some glue along the brace. Get it in there. Press down. Now, take your square, your black, some kind of a square, because you want this brace to be on your square, of course. And first of all, I just kind of lock the ends down. Like so. Right, now all the clamps, or all the braces have been glued on. This is the last one I was doing here. Don't do what I did. Dumb. I did them out of order. Why, I don't know, but you should do them 1, 2, 3, and 4 like that, because with the other one, if you don't do them that way, it's hard to lay the square in beside and get them squared up. Anyway, I ended up doing this one last, but it worked. There's kind of the clamping setup I use. I don't, on the back, because the wood's harder, I don't have a protective strip under here. I don't find the wooden cam clamps do any damage with the amount of pressure I put on it. And these C-clamps that I have here, I've actually crazy glued cork onto the surface here, so they don't damage either. It just saves me from having to muck around with the strips underneath to protect. Anyway. Okay, we can now start carving these braces down. Leave the overhangs on there. We'll trim those off later on. Again, just like the sound, we're a clamp on the far side, and I'm kind of chiseling towards that end, and making sure not to put pressure on this side, because it's got quite a bow to it now, the back does. The two thick braces get a pretty much a rounded top. The two thin ones get the same kind of parabolic contour that we had on the braces on the soundboard. So, same procedure. Now the ends of these braces, like I said, they're rounded over, and the ends, but then all of these get tapered down within about 2 inches, 2.5 inches of the edge. Down, well, down to about 1/8 of an inch. And that'll tuck in underneath. We'll later carve a notch out of the kerfing in the side just to fit into. Now again, when you're doing these braces, like any brace, pay attention to which way the grain goes. Because you'll typically find, if you're going one way and it's working okay, when you switch the other side of the brace, you'll have a splintering problem. So I'll finish up on this side of the brace, and then come around and go out the direction, the other one. And then make sure you don't have splintering on when you're doing chiseling. And once you got the braces carved with your chisel, and sand them down, just like at the top. I start with 80, and then 120, and then 220. Try and remove all the marks. Again, remember this area right here is where people will see through the sound hole, so try and be careful. So I have taken and sanded this down. Everything has been sanded now down to 220. I've even gone over the material of the back itself to make sure I haven't left any bits of glue sticking there or nicks. And then I've blown the whole thing out with compressed air to make sure I've got all the dust out there and examine it. Because this is one of the last times you're going to see the surface and have to do anything with it. Okay, next step. So I've taken the back, and I have erased the template line I had drawn on the back. Because we're going to draw a new one. Now, then I've taken the body of the guitar, put it back in the workboard with the Bristol board and cork shim underneath it, with the clamp on it. Now, point note with the clamp. It's very tempting when you're putting this clamping block on here to put the wing nut on the top, because you can see it work up here. Don't do that. the wing nut has to go on the bottom underneath, because once we get the back glued on to the sound box, you're going to have a hard time getting your hand in there to undo the wing nut. So it has to be in the bottom, so do that and get it clamped in. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to remark where the real outside of the guitar is. Now, I've made little marks on either end here to indicate where the center is so I can line things up. Now, what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to sit this on the back and I'm pulling it back a bit until the center grab hits on the tail block and my center line is lined up with the center of the back, of the sides. And I just put a clamp there to hold it. Now at the front, it's a little harder to see the center, but what I do is I take my square, sit it on there, lined up with the center line of the top that I can see down here, like so, and then I use that to kind of move this side to side to get it lined up on the center, close as I can. And then, same deal, use a clamp to temporarily, I'm not being hardly any pressure here, I just want to hold it there. Now, what you want to do now is run around and mark two things. You want to mark a line on these braces that extend through to indicate where the side is, so you know where to cut them off. And you also want to mark the side at the spot where the brace, to indicate where the braces are. Put two lines to indicate where the braces come across the sides. I do that all the way around the guitar. Okay, so having made those marks in all the ends of the braces where the outside of the side goes, we have to cut them off a side's width inside of that line, so they're going to fit inside the guitar. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be hugely accurate, but take a stab at it. A fine tooth saw. Try not to do too much damage to the soundboard, to the back. And then just clean up with a chisel. And get those cleaned out right down to the back material.